I was not expecting this. Wow, wow, wow. I reckon there's only one thing better than being able to go out in the great outdoors, and that's being able to spend longer out in the great outdoors on multi-day trips doing the stuff that you love. However, a multi-day trip does add some extra layers of complexity and challenge that shorter trips don't have. So what I want to do today is to be able to show you 7 tips that I used and also learned on a recent 7-day trip that we went on. So if you're ready, let's rip into it. It'd be really great to think that even in the middle of summer, the weather would be picture perfect, right? Yeah, sadly we found out that's not the case. The best intended plans for an epic trip can be derailed by the worst of weather. During the week we were away, our feet were damp or wet the entire time, mainly from either rain, walking through wet grass, or crossing lots of rivers. And as you'll be aware, there's nothing more exciting than getting up every morning knowing that you've got to put on wet socks and wet boots. If you wait for the perfect weather window where there's absolutely no rain and conditions are absolutely pristine, chances are you'll never leave home. So I think if you prepare aptly in terms of your clothes for wind, rain and sun, you'll be right. If it's expected to rain for a few days, it can be a good idea to stay in a hut for some nights so you can stay drier and partially at least dry out some of your wet gear. How much gear you take is always a weighty topic, pun intended. You want to take away enough gear for you that you feel safe and also comfortable, while at the same time not struggling to be able to carry the weight on your back or to be able to shove everything in at the start of every day. The top 5 things that generally weigh the most are things like your pack, your tent, your sleeping mat, your sleeping bag, and of course your food. My 65 litre pack weighs about 2.5 kgs, which is certainly on the heavier side. That's why recently I've ordered a custom-made 75 litre pack, which weighs only around 1 kg, saving me about 1.5 kgs. In terms of my sleep system, I use a hydrophobic goose down quilt, which is not only light, it's also warm, and my double insulated air mattress weighs under 600 grams. I'm about to lighten my load also by buying a slightly lighter 3-season Mont tent. It has an incredible 25,000 waterproofing on the floor and a large 2.3 square meters of internal living space, which is actually really massive for a 1-person tent. And yes, if all you do is stay in huts, you can obviously save weight by leaving your tent and your air mattress at home. However, I really like the flexibility and the freedom that tenting gives you. If you do go on a longer trip, it is a perfect excuse to be able to splash out some hard-earned cash and to buy some new, shiny, lighter, less bulky, or simply better gear to be able to take along with you. If you like these types of videos and of course would like to see more, which I hope you do, can I please ask that you subscribe to the channel, and that'll make sure you don't miss out on other upcoming content I bring out. Now let's talk about one of my favourite topics, and that is food. I generally find that when I'm covering a lot of distance during the day and also a lot of height gain, I'm expending a lot more energy and eating a lot more than I normally would. So not only from a safety perspective should you take more food just in case you're waylaid and have to stay longer out in the wild, but also just because you're going to expend more energy, it makes sense to take more food with you than you normally would. In terms of some of the best energy giving muscle fuel you'll ever come across, I'd suggest that carbs have got to be right up there for your snacks and also for your main meals. Energy-rich carbs include things like cashews. I particularly like the ones that have got a lot of salt in them because that helps replace the salt that I lose when I sweat. Of course, potato chips, Pringles, barbecue flavour are my favourite. Cookies with lots of good chocolate in it. Oats, rice, pasta, dehydrated potato, noodles, wraps, and I like to put in my wraps cheese and salami. On longer trips, many people take as much fresh food and fruit as they possibly can, which generally lasts you between 2 to 3 days. And after that, you're eating pre-packed or dehydrated food that you've either brought from a shop or made yourself. Something I do find helpful is to prepare food in reusable 2-day packs, so everything that I need food-wise for 2 days is in the same place rather than being spread over several bags or several containers. I've also added in some natural electrolytes. Not only are they refreshing to drink and really tasty, but they're great in terms of replacing salts and other things you sweat out. And they're also very good at helping reduce cramps in your legs. Something that can literally make the difference between having a great time out in the great outdoors or an awful time are the people you go with. You want to go with those who you know quite well, who are up to the task at hand, fitness-wise and technically, and who enjoy a good laugh, and you enjoy being with them. People who are rigid and who can't go with the flow are never the best fit on any trip, let alone a multi-day trip. On a multi-day trip, it stands to reason at some point that you or others are going to suffer some form of fatigue. Sometimes, for me, I just find getting up in the morning, even though I'm sore, and just starting to walk warms up my muscles, and with the next to no time, I'm back to normal, and I really can't feel the pain in my legs until I stop later on in the day. However, though, I do know some of my tramping friends do take some mild painkillers, but obviously that if the pain persists and it becomes unbearable, even with mild painkillers, you really do need to really think what you're doing, and in the worst case, being able to pull out of the trip, press your PLB and get rescued and go home and nurse your injuries and get them looked after by a medical professional. Well, I was not expecting this. Wow, wow. Wow. On some of our trips, what we'll do is we'll spend a couple of nights at a certain place where some people the next day can go off and do a side trip, or some people just hang around, camp, eat and drink and have a good time, or just nurse their injuries. And so everyone's taken care of, everyone's having a good time, and it just provides people with a bit of flexibility and options. Okay, the last very practical tip, and that is, if possible, try not to have to go back to work the next day after a multi-day trip. Not only do you have lots of gear that you've got to sort out, clean, air, and organise back into its place where you got it from before you went away, but also your body is sore, so the last thing you want to have to do is do all those practical things and then hobble to work and be all sore the next day. So try, if possible and practicable, to be able to have at least 1 or 2 days from when you get back from your trip to when you go back to work. I'm sure you've got some hot tips of your own, so please put them in the comments below. And of course, while you're there, you might as well smash the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. And until I see you in the next action-packed, slightly funny, and hopefully really informative video, always stay safe, stay strong. See you in the next one, everyone. Bye.